Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Urbana Community Development Commission. Prior to our actual meeting, we're going to have a public hearing. And the purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the public to provide input and comments regarding the proposed City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium Annual Action Plan for fiscal year 2016-17. Notice of this public hearing was placed on the city's website on March 8, 2016, along with a notice that the public comment period would begin March 22nd for 30 days. I now declare this public hearing open. If anyone desires to express their views regarding the proposed annual action plan for fiscal year 2016-17, please come forward and be recognized. Does anyone want to come forward and be recognized for the public hearing? If not,
well, I did want to, there was a draft that was sent to you. I have also, at each of your seats, have a proposed budget for the home program and the CDBG that was not included. So I wanted you to see what our proposed budget is for those two grants. Mm-hmm. As you can see, administration for both, there is a cap on the administration, and so that's what that shows. And then the top one, it shows the home program, and so the actual allocation is what we recently received from HUD, and then the administration is the 10%, and then there's the CHOTO set aside. It's a requirement per regulations as well that you do the 15%, which we show there, and then the remainder is split per the consortium members. And this was the last split that we'd received. That could be updated by HUD in the next 30 days, and if so, then those amounts might change. But overall, that is the proposed tentative budget so far. Okay. And then you can see the CDBG program, what our grant allocation is, and then the administrative 20%. Public service is also 15%, and that also is a cap, and it shows the different, with the public service is our transitional housing program, our neighborhood cleanup, and our consolidated social service fund. We put a portion of the CDBG into that overall funding, and then our housing programs, emergency access, and senior repair, and then our property acquisition. This doesn't include any carryover. We're working on gathering that information, but this is what we propose for our budgets for the grants.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, would those interested in the annual action plan have access to this information?
I didn't make enough copies, but I would certainly, I can put it up on the website, okay, and so that they can then access that information. Yeah, because that would be part of the annual action plan.
Okay. All right. Any other comments regarding the annual action plan? If not, seeing that there are no further comments, I now declare the public hearing closed. Thank you.
We will be bringing, after the public comment period, we'll be bringing the final, I think, in April for approval. So, and it will go to council as well, and then it has to be submitted in May.
Okay. All right. I'll now proceed to call the meeting to order. The meeting is now in order. And next is roll call.
Fred Cobb.
Here.
Janice Bankston.
Here.
Brian Cunningham. Chris Diana. Ann Hines Silvis.
Here.
Lauren Carplus.
Here.
Jerry Moreland. Lisa Beth Searing.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next we have approval of the minutes from February 23rd, 2016. We'll take a moment, let everybody look at them again. after which I'll entertain a motion for approval or corrections. So let's take a moment. Okay, does anyone need more time? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval or modifications.
I move to approve the minutes from February 23rd.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve these minutes. Just wanted to make one comment. On page 5, if you look at the third paragraph, it said the agreement was done in fiscal year 14-15. I think that was 14 and 15. It wasn't actually the year 14-15. Third paragraph down, page 5.
Just a typo where you need
Third paragraph.
Was there been here then?
Well, I think that's just the way you write fiscal year 14-15.
Is that the way you do it?
Yes,
That's one way.
that is. Yeah, there's one way, it's fiscal year 2014-2015
Yeah.
or fiscal year 14-15. That's
Oh.
how I sometimes write it. If it would make more, if it would be easier, I mean, I can do the 2014-2015.
Well, it just jumped out at me.
You did it? Okay. Versus if it was the actual year, then I would have had year, program year or 2014 and 2015.
So it was done over 2 years.
That's how the fiscal year, it's fiscal
Oh,
year
oh,
starts
from
July
half of
1st
one
to
to half
June
the other.
30th, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
fiscal year 14 would be
Yeah.
July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2015.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The minutes are approved as written. Okay, next, we have petitions and communications. That's for any of you out in the audience there. If you have anything you'd like to present to us, you can come forward and present it at this time. If not, we'll proceed on to, we also have audience participation. Well, let
Yeah.
me clarify. Petitions and communications are the written petitions and communications. Audience participation would be from you in the audience. Having neither, we'll move on to staff report.
Okay, in your packet, we provided the staff briefing for you. Just note, from HUD, we received our home monitoring response to our latest submission, and HUD asked for additional information from us, which was sent March 11th. hopefully this will be the final information that we need to send, and everything will be taken care of. And then we can move forward. If not, we'll just submit more information if they need it. But hopefully this will take care of that. As you can see, we've been working on, of course, the annual action plan, working on our home commitments and CDBG timeliness, taking care of those, looking at budgets, doing payouts to agencies, beginning the social service fund process, processing payments for the grants, working on certification with Chodo. Of course, shows Randy and the different projects that he has done to date under the emergency grant, the excess grant, and the senior repair, as well as whole house rehab. And then the final is showing the different meetings that we have attended in the last month. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll clarify anything.
Okay. Any questions?
What is the Community Reinvestment Group?
Sure. That is a group made up of banks, lenders, the cities, Habitat attends, Parkland College, let me think who else. Land of Lincoln has attended, and basically it is geared toward the lenders because they, through the Community Reinvestment Act, have to use funds for community development in the community, and so this group was started for that reason. And then, so one of the big things that they do is like home buyer through Parkland. They'll do home buyer program where so people can learn about what it is to be a home buyer and what kind of maintenance and stuff they have to do. They also do a housing fair as well. So.
Yeah, I might clarify a little bit because I was affected several years ago. I tried to get a mortgage from a bank for a house in a primarily minority neighborhood. And because of the zip code, I was rejected. And it was strictly because of the zip code. And the Community Reinvestment Act works against that. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things they do. Okay. All right. Next, we'll move to old business. First, under old business, we have a resolution certifying a community housing development organization for the Urbana Home Consortium, which is Habitat. Someone want to go into that a little bit?
Sure, I'll let Matt do that. And Sheila, do you want to come up? Sheila Dodd here from the Habitat, in case there's any questions after Matt does his presentation.
Okay, and I might clarify, this is for regarding certification, whereas our other item under this old business is approving and authorizing. This is a certification portion.
And if you don't mind, I was planning to present on both of those resolutions at the same time. I think they would need to be voted on separately, but I'll definitely do my presentation and explain how those two are connected.
Actually, I think that per the memo, I think that you can approve them together.
Okay.
So part of the Home Investment Partnerships Act, the funds associated with that, the rules dictate that the community housing development organizations need to be certified prior to having any agreement with the lead entity for the home consortium committing money to them. So in this case, we're required to certify Habitat for Humanity as of Champaign County as a CHODO prior to actually approving the agreement with them to bring the money forward. Habitat first became a CHODO in 2011, and the CHODO certification form has been changed somewhat since that time. We definitely appreciate Habitat's patience in working with us on that process. And That's one of the major changes that needs to be done every time we distribute or commit funds to a CHODO. It's also much more extensive, and you should have copies of all of the material that Habitat's provided. The amount of the contract committing the CHODO funds is for $97,962.60, which is the 15% amount of our 2015-2016 allocation, the total amount of that cap that we are required to give to CHODOs per HUD regulations. And the breakdown of how those funds are spent per address is provided in the original memo that was sent before our prior meeting. 2 of those properties are in Champaign, 1 is in Urbana, and the reason for that is this money is spread throughout the entire home consortium, so that's generally how the CHODO funds are distributed. The timelines for the construction of those properties are also detailed in the application. As this is home funds, no city general funds will be used as part of this agreement. And committing this $97,000 of CHODO funds will also substantially help in reducing our commitment shortfall for home funds that we need to have committed by July 31st of this year. Staff recommends that the Community Development Commission forward both resolutions to City Council with recommendation for approval. Are there any questions about the CHODO resolutions?
And I did want to state it's on old business because last month we were still waiting on the certification information. And so it was recommended to move this to this meeting so that Habitat could then complete the application for the certification, which they have done and we have reviewed.
You know what a CHODO is? The acronym? I'd like to clarify what a CHODO is.
Development organization.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies for not defining that in the first place.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of what it is.
Okay. Did you want to explain something? You go ahead and explain anything about this?
We currently own all 3 properties that we've requested funds for.
Mhm.
We have other funds to mix with them, and we have the end buyer that has signed a real estate contract. So these funds will really help us move forward and complete the project.
Okay. Any questions?
I think I have a question. The board membership, is that, doesn't require representation from each of the entities? I'm just flipping through the board membership, and it looks like their residences, Champaign County, Champaign, and Champaign County. There's nobody from Urbana or Rancho. I don't know how that is.
The CHODO certification applies throughout the home consortium, so their residence in the city of Urbana is not required for CHODO certification.
Okay.
And actually, Craig Carew, who is now Savoy address, he's been on 7 years, and 2 years ago, he moved from Urbana.
Okay.
So he's a long-term Urbana resident.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to approve, modify, or deny these resolutions.
Did we just, they can be voted on together? I thought we-
That's, he was explaining they could be voted on together. The authorization and the certification.
And you were presenting them together, but for some reason I thought we still.
That was originally the statement, was that they should be separate, but actually we can do them together in an omnibus fashion, so to speak. Yeah.
As long as the certification is acceptable to the city, because it's been signed by other required signers, I noticed in the packet. So Do I hear a motion?
So I would make a motion that we forward these resolutions to City Council with the recommendation for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
You second? Okay. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next is new business. Under new business, we have the 2016 private activity bond cap. Under that, a resolution evidencing the intention of the City of Urbana, Champaign County, Illinois, to transfer volume capping in connection with private activity bond issues, single-family mortgage revenue bonds, and related matters.
I'm going to do this one, yes.
Okay.
This item was before you last month
Right.
and was approved, and then after that, we were contacted by David Roche with Illinois Assist, and stated in his letter, which I have attached, that the housing market was really strong in Urbana and that their funding is now available, and he asked if we would consider ceding part or all of the bond cap to them. And so we went through and we looked at the information. We saw how many loans. The map shows where the loans are all at in Urbana. And so we felt that this would be a good use of at least part of the activity bond. And since it hadn't gone yet to council, we thought that we could bring it back to you folks and ask that instead of one entity that we do 50% to Illinois Assist, and then the other 50% would be to Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority. Also, I updated the memo, and on page 2, there under background, the first paragraph, it goes into a little more detail about what a private activity bond is, because I know there were some questions, and I wasn't sure that we had really answered the questions for the commission. So hopefully this paragraph will explain and make it easier to understand.
Sorry, where are you looking at this?
On page 2 of the memo, the second paragraph under background, or this is the first paragraph under background, it says a private activity bond is a tax-exempt bond issued by a local or state government for the purpose of financing a project. And I also contacted Andrew Hamilton at Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority to find out if there have been any projects in the area using bond cap, ours or a combination. And he replied back that they have done 2 projects in recent years. In 2012, they used $11,500,000 in bonds to on behalf of the 222 State Street properties in Champaign, which is the old Howard Johnson. And then in 2014, in August of 2014, $20 million in bonds were issued on behalf of TBG Providence Champaign, which is the Benoit Group, for costs of acquiring, renovating, constructing, furnishing, and equipping 92-unit apartment complex known as Providence at Sycamore Hills on North McKinley in Champaign, which was previously known as the Joanne Dorsey housing that they, and then also, because what they did in the redevelopment of Joanne Dorsey public housing was to split into 2 larger complexes in order for low-income housing tax credits. And one was the Providence at Sycamore Hills, which was the 92-unit apartment complex, and then Providence at Thornberry, the one located at 702 Cobblefield Road in Champaign. And they also looked at how many jobs were created and retained as a result of the project. There were 28. So, so the funds were used in, not necessarily right in Urbana, but in the community. They were used. So I feel confident that when we move forward with development in Urbana, that we will be able to access those for our projects.
Okay. So, I'd like to clarify that by doing this, it would not limit any activity in Urbana.
No, it would not. Nope. And it like the memo says, it won't have any financial effect on the city because by seeding it, I mean, we're not putting ourselves at risk. Either the assist or EIEDA will be doing the financial risk, not the city. But we will benefit from the activity.
Yep.
So our recommendation is to cede 50% to Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority and then the 50% to the Illinois Assist program.
Okay. Questions?
I have one. Was there any particular reason for the 50-50?
Just in easy math,
So-
split it down the middle.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was like a formula that went into that or something. So.
No, since there were, if there had been 3 entities that had contacted us and they were all sounded like, viable, we would have split it 3 ways.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
How will Urbana residents become aware of the assist programs with the first-time home buyer assistance?
Sure. Actually, there was marketing information that was also submitted, which was attached. And so when we attend the next Community Reinvestment Group, CRG, we will let the lenders know that this will be becoming available. I think the easiest way is for a lender to go through this, to get to the access this program. So, and we'll put it on the city website that this is available, and that if you're interested, you could contact us or talk to your local lender.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. You can approve, modify, or deny.
I move that we recommend approval for the resolutions to the council.
Now, is this for both?
Yes.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yes, I'm doing them, together.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and these resolutions pass, are approved.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Emergency Solutions Grant. This will be a resolution approving a subrecipient agreement fiscal year 2015-2016, Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. Does someone want to present that?
I'll let Matt, and then if he has any additional, I can add to it. But I'll let Matt start.
Okay.
So, as you mentioned, the resolution here concerns an additional subrecipient agreement to our most recent Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, agreement with the Illinois Department of Human Services. And just as a refresher on how ESG works, the local shelters in the area are able to apply through the Champaign County Continuum of Care for ESG funds, and contracts or agencies that are either approved for or request fewer than $25,000 are assigned to the city of Urbana as subrecipients, and will handle administration of those grants. And ESG can be used for a variety of different purposes that emergency shelters might use them for. the city also receives a portion of the admin funds for handling the administration of the grant. And in 2015, 3 agencies were originally proposed for receiving ESG funds, and that was Community Elements, Crisis Nursery, and the Salvation Army. And a portion of those funds, $12,396.58, were held out as direct street outreach money, which was to be allocated at a later time as per city staff and the COC's recommendation. And since that time, the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission has taken steps to initiate something called centralized intake, which is a program that creates a single point of intake for homeless individuals in Champaign County, rather than having a coordinated intake system as currently exists, where agencies will communicate with each other and direct homeless individuals that they come into contact with agencies that would be most appropriate to them. In this case, the funding that we would allocate through the subrecipient agreement would fund a case manager at CCRPC who would basically be in charge of directing homeless individuals who come to their attention to other agencies, but it would create a centralized point where homeless individuals would be referred initially. And as a result of RPC taking steps in that direction, as I mentioned, COC and city staff have agreed that centralized intake should be provided the direct street outreach funds. And as mentioned before, these are state funds, so they would have no impact on the city general fund. And staff recommends that the resolution is forwarded to City Council with a recommendation for approval. Are there any questions?
I did want to add to that, in that actually the emergency solution grants come from HUD, and then they allot a portion to entitlements like us. There's only very few, and then the remainder is to the state. So it's federal funds to the Illinois Department of Human Services, and then they do application or an RFP for agencies to submit for funding. And it's now coordinates through the continuum of cares in the state, who receive, this is how much is available for your continuum, and then they have to decide and figure out who will get that funding. In fact, they have started the process and have sent out an email to the continuum members stating that you need to submit an application to us for a project for X amount of dollars, and then the Continuum Executive Committee would look at those applications and decide who should get funding based on a criteria that has been set. And then, and we have already stated that the agencies that get approved for funding but may not meet the $25,000 threshold, which was set by DHS, that if an agency received $25,000 or more, they could work directly with DHS. Those that are less than $25,000 have to have someone that administers on their behalf, which is what we have done for the last few years. And we stated that we would do that again if there were agencies that got approved for less than the $25,000. And then another point I wanted to make was about the centralized intake, in that this person who's the focal point will technically should be aware of what openings are at all the agencies, so that when someone comes to them, they can then contact that agency and say, we have a person who's coming to make an appointment with you. And so to help, rather than somebody calling around to all the agencies, are there openings, there's now going to be, hopefully, and this is a pilot program, so hopefully this is going to work the way there'll be one person who can then send that person to an agency that there are openings for. Any questions now?
I have a question. Not to say that the centralized intake and emergency family shelter aren't wonderful things, but they're in this set of funds that was done for street outreach. So how do they fit into that model?
I should have brought the regulations. So for the ESG, they talk about what is eligible under that, and this is an eligible under street outreach. I can certainly get those regulations for you if you want to see what that.
No,
Um,
I would take your judgment on that. So it's one of those things that HUD defined it that way, so that's how it
Yes.
counts.
Yes, yeah, through that, yeah. The Hearth Act has they had revised. It has those specifically what is street outreach, what is essential services, what's operations, and we definitely make sure that the agency or program fits under that criteria.
Okay, I was wondering, was there or is there any opposition to this agreement?
No, Regional Planning Commission is interested there definitely, and what they're going to do is the new application for DHS funds, ESG, is coming out in the next month or so. They're going to apply through that so that they will then have their own funds after the next fiscal year to run. These are just funds that we had left over, and we don't want to lose those, and so that's why we're looking to give them. But there's been no opposition to this agreement or there's use of funds for that purpose.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, again, I'll entertain a motion for approval, a modification, or rejection. Do I hear a motion? From a veteran?
Okay. I move that we approve the resolution supporting the Emergency Solutions Grant.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve this subrecipient agreement for Regional Planning Commission. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, one last item on our agenda under CDBG is the public service, CDBG public service funding priorities as part of the Consolidated Social Service Funding Pool. Okay, we've done this before. Someone want to go through that again?
I can.
Sure, I'll let Matt do that so
Yeah.
he can have some experience in explaining it.
Yes, I'll definitely be brief. As you mentioned, this is fairly routine that what the CDC does. This is completely in regard to the what's anticipated to be $5,000 of CDBG funds that we are planning to contribute to the Consolidated Social Service Fund. And because that's federal funding, it falls under HUD's purview and their regulations, which stipulate that certain priorities need to be established for how those funds get distributed to social service agencies. As a reminder, last year, the first priority was youth and seniors, the second was homelessness, and the third is special needs populations. And then those funds were then distributed to this year, I believe it was PACE and the Regional Planning Commission. Several options are also available. There were a number of priorities mentioned in the consolidated plan. And again, since this is only in regards to the CDBG portion, this has no bearing on the city's general fund. And staff recommends at this time the same priority establishment for the CDBG portion of the Consolidated Social Service Fund. Are there any questions right off the bat?
Now, does this remain the priorities that covers the most people? The
Yes.
most opportunities for
Yes.
helping people?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we felt that. I'm trying to think how many. Usually we get about about 40 to 50 applications from about 30 different agencies. And most of them could probably fall under those three categories.
Mhm.
So it does give us a wider range of agencies to choose from.
Okay. Questions? Okay. You know, we have options to choose some other categories, but this one seems to help the most people. So I'll entertain a motion to approve these funding priorities as suggested by the staff.
I move to approve the funding, or the 3 priorities as recommended by the staff. That would be seniors and youth, homelessness, and special needs populations.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and any comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Okay. That exhausts our agenda for this evening. Do any commissioners have any other items you'd like to bring up or discuss? If not, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
you.